A child figures out very early which version of themselves gets attention. Not the version that cries when something hurts, or apologizes when they've gone too far, or asks for help when they're overwhelmed. The version that wins. The version that performs. The version that makes the adults around them nod with something that looks close enough to pride that a child cannot tell the difference between pride and love. Azula, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, is introduced as one of the most formidable antagonists in animation. Tactically brilliant, ruthlessly efficient, a firebending prodigy who generates blue flames. The framing is designed to make her intimidating, and it works. What the intimidation conceals is simpler and harder to look at. Azula is a 14-year-old girl who has never, in her entire life, been loved for anything other than her usefulness. Every relationship she has is a transaction. Every skill she possesses was cultivated to serve someone else's ambition. And the one person whose love she wanted most, her mother, looked at her. And Azula saw something in that look she never recovered from. The story of what was built on top of that wound and what happened when the wound finally opened. Ozai did not raise a daughter. He manufactured an instrument. From Azula's earliest years, the Fire Lord's attention was allocated on the basis of output. Perform well, receive acknowledgement. Demonstrate weakness, receive nothing. The logic was not subtle and it was not hidden. Ozai operated in the open, praising cruelty when it was effective and discarding sentiment when it was not. Azula absorbed the lesson completely. The world responds to power. Everything else is noise. She was a gifted child, and the gifts accelerated the process. Firebending came naturally. Strategy came naturally. The ability to read a person's fear and use it against them came naturally. Ozai saw each of these abilities and reinforced them. And the reinforcement told Azula exactly what she was for. Not a person to be loved, an asset to be deployed. By the time she was old enough to interact with the world on her own terms, she had already internalized a view of people so complete that she could not see it as a view. It was just reality. People are tools. Affection is leverage. Trust is a crack in the wall that someone will eventually use to get inside. The damage Ozai did was severe, and it was also, in a specific way, survivable. The damage Ursa did was different, and it was the one Azula could not survive. Ursa loved Zuko. Not exclusively, there is evidence throughout the series that Ursa cared for Azula, that her concern for her daughter was genuine. But the way she loved Zuko was visible, and the way she looked at Azula carried something else alongside the love. Worry, unease. The particular expression of a mother watching her child do something that frightens her.
Your father has requested an audience with Fire Lord Azulan. Best clothes, hurry up.
Fire Lord Azulan. Can't you just call him grandfather? He's not exactly the powerful Fire Lord he used to be. Someone will probably end up taking his place soon.
Young lady, not another word. What is wrong with that child?
Azula saw that expression, and what she read in it, at an age too young to read it correctly, was a verdict.
I don't have sob stories like all of you. I could sit here and complain how our mom liked Zuko more than me, but I don't really care. My own mother thought I was a monster.
The reading may have been wrong. Ursa may have been frightened not of Azula, but for her, watching the cruelty Ozai was installing and not knowing how to stop it. But the child who receives that look does not have access to the nuance. The child sees a face, and the face says, "Your brother gets the version of me that loves without conditions, and you get the version that watches with fear." She decided at an age when decisions like this become permanent because the mind has not yet developed the tools to revisit them, that love was not available to her. That the warm, unearned thing Zuko received from their mother was something she would never hold. And in the absence of love, she would accumulate the only thing that reliably produced results: control. Everything she became after that, every manipulation, every strategic victory, every flawless performance of dominance, was built on top of a decision made by a child who believed her mother saw a monster when she looked at her. Fear works. That is the problem. A person who has learned that affection is unreliable and vulnerability is dangerous will, given enough time and enough intelligence, develop a method of engaging with others that removes both variables entirely. Fear does this. It does not require the other person to like you. It does not depend on their mood, their loyalty, or their willingness to stay. It produces compliance immediately, and the compliance is predictable, and predictability is the closest thing to safety that a person without trust can access. Mai and Ty Lee, the two people closest to friends she has ever had, are kept in orbit through the same force. The friendship has real elements. There are moments of genuine companionship, of shared humor, of something that looks enough like warmth to pass for it. But underneath those moments, both girls understand, without it ever being said aloud, that Azula's affection has a perimeter, and crossing it produces consequences. The arrangement works as long as fear remains the strongest force in play. The Ember Island episode does something the rest of the series carefully avoids. It removes Azula from every context in which she functions. No army, no title, no strategic objective. Just 4 teenagers at a beach house, attending a party, trying to interact with people their own age in a setting where military rank and royal bloodline mean nothing. She plays volleyball like she is conducting a siege. She approaches a boy she finds attractive and delivers a speech about how together they could dominate the earth. She attacks the world constantly because she has never learned another way to exist inside it. The cruelty is not who she is. It is the only tool she was given for handling a world that, as far as she understood it, decided she was a monster before she had the chance to be anything else. The structure built on fear has a specific weakness. It cannot survive being disproven. The first crack comes at the boiling rock. Zuko has defected. Azula has him cornered. The situation is resolved. The traitor is contained, and the system is functioning as designed. Then Mai steps between them.
I never expected this from you. The thing I don't understand is why. Why would you do it? You know the consequences.
I guess you just don't know people as well as you think you do. I love Zuko more than I fear you.
The sentence does something to Azula that is visible on her face before she can suppress it. It is not just a betrayal. It is the shattering of a foundational belief. Azula's entire understanding of human behavior depends on fear being the dominant force in every interaction. Fear is how she holds people. Fear is how she predicts people. Fear is the one thing she has spent her life mastering, because it is the only thing that consistently produced results. Mai just told her, in the open, that love is stronger. Azula's response is immediate and violent. Ty Lee stops her. Both of them chose something over their fear of her. Both of them proved in the same moment that the force Azula built her entire world around has limits she never accounted for. The people she kept close did not stay because fear was strong enough. They stayed because fear was the only thing on offer. And the moment an alternative appeared, a bond worth protecting, a love worth the risk, the fear was not enough. The second betrayal cuts deeper because it comes disguised as a gift. The Fire Nation is about to achieve total military dominance. And on the eve of the final campaign, Ozai names her Fire Lord and leaves without her. The title sounds like a crowning achievement. Azula hears what it actually is almost immediately. Her father is taking the real mission for himself. He is leaving her behind to sit on a throne while he completes the work she helped make possible. Everything she burned away to be useful to him, every relationship she sacrificed, every piece of softness she killed inside herself, every year spent perfecting the weapon he asked her to become, and the reward is an empty palace while her father finishes the war without her. She was never his daughter. She was his instrument, and instruments, once the work is done, get stored. The coronation takes place in solitude. Azula sits in the palace, preparing for the ceremony. The servants around her are terrified, and she can see it. And the fear that once made her feel secure now feeds a paranoia that has been growing since the boiling rock. She banishes them, one by one, then in groups. Anyone who hesitates, anyone whose eyes move in the wrong direction, anyone who might be disloyal, which at this point means anyone at all. Then she looks in the mirror, and her mother is looking back.
What are you doing here?
I didn't want to miss my own daughter's coronation.
I know what you really think of me. You think I'm a monster.
All your life, you've used fear to control people, like your friends Mai and Ty Lee.
Fear is the only reliable way. Even you fear me.
No, I love you, Azula.
This is the final confrontation, and it is not with Zuko or the Avatar. It is with the one question she sealed shut when she was a child. Was I loved? If the answer is yes, if Ursa loved her genuinely all along, then everything Azula built was unnecessary. She cannot accept that. Accepting it would mean facing the full weight of what she did to herself, with no one to blame, no system to point to, just a girl who misread her mother's face and spent the rest of her childhood building a fortress against a threat that may not have existed. The Agni Kai against Zuko follows, and it is not a fight. It is the wreckage of a mind operating without any remaining structure. Her flames are wild, still blue, still powerful, but erratic, unstable, missing the precision that defined her. Zuko is calm, grounded, fighting from a place of acceptance that Azula has never had access to, because acceptance requires the ability to be imperfect, and imperfection was the one thing her entire life was designed to eliminate. Katara chains her to the grating. Azula screams. She breathes fire at the sky. She cries with a desperation that belongs to someone much younger than 14. The desperate, uncontrolled weeping of a child who has been holding something for so long that when it finally breaks free, it takes everything with it. The war machine is gone. The princess is gone. The villain is gone. What is left, chained to the ground and screaming, is the child who was never allowed to exist, arriving finally, years too late, in a body that was used up making sure she never would. The cruelest education a child can receive is to be shown, early and clearly, that the love available to them is the kind that has to be earned, that it can be withdrawn, that it comes attached to performance, and when performance drops, the love drops with it. A child given that education will build their entire personality around making sure the performance never drops. They will become perfect, or as close to it as their abilities allow, and the perfection will look from the outside like talent, or ambition, or strength. And from the inside, it will feel like standing on a ledge, high up, exposed on every side, with no room to sit down and nowhere safe to fall. Azula stood on that ledge for her entire life. She became exactly what her father built her to be, and then she exceeded it, and the excess did not bring her any closer to the thing she actually wanted, because the thing she actually wanted was not available through excellence. It was only available through the kind of vulnerability she had been taught, since birth, to see as fatal. When the ledge gave way, when the friends left and the father discarded her, and the mirror showed her a face she could not bear to see, there was nothing underneath. No identity that existed outside the performance. No self that had been allowed to develop in the spaces between being useful. Just the free fall, and the ground, and the sound of a girl who was never permitted to be a child, finally making the sounds a child makes when everything is too much, and no one is coming. The throne she was given was empty because she was the only one in it. The throne she wanted, the one where someone sits beside you and stays, not because you terrify them, but because they choose to, was the one thing her education never taught her how to build.